The following podcast is not relating to my teachings and work at Del Cedar Medical Center and is for entertainment purposes only. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Life of Flow podcast. I like that, Miguel. We should keep doing that. All right, let's keep doing it. All right. Today, we have the notorious author behind the amazing meme page, Veins and Gains, Dr. Eli Lutske. He is a vascular surgeon at Piedmont Heart Vascular in Georgia. And today we just talked about a hodgepodge of things. I think it was interesting. I think it was fun. And we touched on, how did he come up with this excellent meme page, which I am obsessed with.
Yeah. We're definitely going to have to bring him back and talk more. I feel we just got distracted with a great conversation on professional decisions and how do you maneuver that.
A whole bunch of things, yeah.
But Eli's a super fun guy, very enjoyable podcast. Hope you enjoy it too. And we'll definitely bring him back and talk a little bit more about memes.
All right, vamos.
Let's go.
Two vascular surgeons walk into a bar and come out with a podcast. We are talking everything vascular and not. Welcome to the Life of Flow podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Life of Flow podcast. How's it going, Eli?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Pretty good. Pretty good,
man.
Back in Austin.
We're unfortunately here in Austin.
Miguel hates Austin. But yeah.
I love we have a beautiful hotel room. We're at the Barton Creek today. We're recording offsite. There's a beautiful mountain in the back. It's great.
Okay.
I don't have anything bad to say of that. Now, we go downtown into Hippieville and your little dive bars. That's not a great scene.
You're getting so old. Anyways.
I'm an old guy.
So, Eli, thanks for coming on. And I think this episode we're just going to spitball. We're just going to talk to whatever comes up. Can you tell us a little bit about what your practice setting is, and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So I'm in a community practice. Me and one partner. We started the vascular program at our hospital about 2.5 years ago. When we joined, there was no vascular service line at all. So they kind of brought us on to spearhead that. Our routine day to day, it's mostly bread and butter stuff. It's legs, it's carotid, it's AAA here and there. I have a weird affinity for the hard, weird stuff. I like the dissections that are gone from arch to groin, and I like the weird aneurysms where all the branches come off of. I don't really say no to almost any case unless our hospital can't handle it, but we're probably still 60% regular bread and butter stuff.
So how'd you get hired there? Were you the first or was it the other guy?
So we both came on at the same time.
Okay.
It's sort of a pseudo coincidence. My current partner and I were together also in private practice, and we both sort of were dissatisfied with the business side of that job. So we both left at the same time, and we were going to go to separate places. And I found a opening at this hospital near where I live because I really didn't want to leave Atlanta. And so they hired me, and then she kind of heard about it too. So they hired her too. We basically started at the exact same time. The parent hospital system was expanding and wanted to have more vascular services at the community hospitals, not just a huge quaternary center where everything happens. So they brought us on to create a program, which has been pretty cool because since there was nothing there before, we got to make it exactly how we wanted it.
Tell me what about the private business model did you not like?
Well, I'm not here to. I don't want to, air dirty laundry, but
yeah. No, you can talk in generalities. I mean,
oh no, sure. I mean, I think my best understanding
is laundry. Air it.
Some of the benefits of being in private practice are business ownership and also, independence in a way. And almost every private practice that I've heard of has a path to partnership, which is something critical for the fellows coming out of training to know. And if there isn't a path to partnership, you need to understand why not or how to make one. And I really there was no path to partnership. I joined a practice that was a sort of mom and pop group. And I got a lot of good experience out of it. I was at an awful trauma center and did some crazy cases, but from a long-term business side of things, it wasn't going to be a good deal. So got out of that and joined the hospital system.
Can we go into that tangent a little bit? Because when I was going into looking for jobs, I went to see everything. So I went to see all the types of models.
And by the way, let me preface by saying Lucas was a trainee in my program, and his last year, I saw him maybe once.
You're such a liar.
Dude, Eli, this guy went on maybe, I'm not joking.
I went like 8.
Dude, it was like 30 interviews.
No way.
You were out of the hospital so much. Every time I'd be like, where's Lucas? Oh, he's on an interview. Oh, okay. Where's Lucas? He's on an interview. I've never known anybody that interviewed more than you. So I understand it. Yeah. I agree that you probably really did your diligence.
Yeah.
Overdid.
And one of the things that that kind of pushed me away from the private group model was the ambiguity on the partnership track, because it seemed like there were like so many outs for them to not make you a partner, and there was such like little guidance as to like how to make partner, and it seemed like it probably is a trap for kind of like free labor kind of a deal, where you bring
I think you're
in.
right.
Yeah. So, when you were interviewing, what did you think about that? And have you talked to other people that had that experience? I don't know. I'm curious because I never went that route, but it seemed like it could be a thing.
Yeah, for sure. I really didn't have. We didn't have a lot of training when I was a fellow about the business side of things. So going into looking at contracts, I didn't really have a whole lot of frame of reference. Of course, I had lawyers look over it, which I would suggest any fellow do. But the lawyer, unless they've been doing very specific, surgeon hiring contracts, they know if it's legal or not, but they don't know if it's a good deal. And I guess what I would encourage, fellows to do is to ask their attendings, because that's what I did, but too late after the fact. Hey, is this a good deal? Am I getting like paid fairly for the market of this region or for what they're asking me to do? Blah, blah, blah. If you went on 30 interviews, maybe you're a little bit wandering around a bit, but
it was fun. It was kind of fun.
It's a lot of time off.
I feel like
lots of free beers.
Most fellows, I think, have an idea, at least, of when they're leaving training, at least if they want to be academic or not. I knew I for sure did not want to be, but there's no, I don't think it's fellowship training in general has guidance for the business side of stuff. But now in retrospect, from all the things I've learned along the way, I feel like all that stuff should be very defined in your contract or something, or it's a red flag. There should be a very specific definition of partnership. How do you get there? What does it look like? And that's different in different practices. Some you got to buy into. Some after so much time, you just become a partner. And you can decide what's right for you, but it needs to be very well defined. And for me, there was no definition. There was just like a, sort of vague, the PEC will decide upon partnership after so much time. And there's a lot of legalese that doesn't really jive with the fellow's outlook. And so it gets kind of wishy-washy.
Did you at any point in time consider, this one private practice doesn't look like it's clear, but maybe me and this partner that you're mentioning at the top of the show, maybe we can do a partnership and go private and not necessarily hospital based. Was that part of the consideration before you decided to sign with them?
I mean, not really. It had been mentioned to me because in my first job, I was like pretty much the workhorse, and I was doing like 40% of the volume and business in the OBL. And people were like, "Oh, if you open your own shop, I'll come, run it for you." Blah blah blah. But at least at the time, it just didn't seem like it was worth the headache. And not that I'm that old, but back then, even now, I still really like doing surgery, and I didn't want to spend half my time dealing with insurance contracts and the rent on the place and all the expenses and all that and staff. So being hospital employed, I deal with none of that, which I think it suits me better. This way I can just worry about booking cases and that's about it.
It's very taxing, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you from my standpoint, right? I want to say, what are we at like now? A couple of years out that I elected to leave the hospital and build my own private practice with an OBL and this and that. The amount of time that I spend in all these other things that are not vascular surgery related is ridiculous.
What percentage of your time do you think
I believe
it's
that.
I want to
not
say
clinical?
at least 40%.
40%.
I have at least 40% not clinical. And here's the deal. The problem is, I'm not at this, in no way do I want to relay a message that I am opposed to it. I've actually, taken a liking to it. And I think depends on your personality and what you're looking for, you may find it. But what you do realize when you're trying to build something from the ground up is that nobody has the alignment of interests as zoned in as yourself when it's about you. Okay. And so what that means is that you may, want to let all these other people that you kind of mentioned, there's all these people that want to parasite off of your practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
All do your RCM and all do your marketing and all I want is this percentage and that percentage. Well, what you realize is that you may want to do that because you may want to just be a surgeon, but then you'll fail miserably, because if you don't pay attention to all those details and you let somebody else do it, A, they're not going to do it well or as good as it should be, and B, they're going to always chip away at your overhead. Mm-hmm. And so by the time you sit down, you're like, what's left to actually take home and buy diapers? Yeah. There's not a lot because you paid all these other people to try to operate. So the only way you can know how to do that or make it somewhat successful is if you sit your ass and you look at every single detail and you know how to do everybody's job better than everybody. And then you could let go. And then you could start telling, okay, well, you need to do this RCM report. And it may be boring. For me, still, it seems enticing and fun, but it is very taxing. And to your point, Eli, if that's not what you want, don't do it. Right? I mean, if you're not like this, if you don't feel that you're tickled by entrepreneurship and business and marketing and all these other things that are super distracted, because as a surgeon, God, we have enough things on our plate to be distracted by all these things. And so if you don't want to be distracted by it, do not choose this pathway and build something incredibly successful like you've done, right? Find the right partnership with a hospital, let them take that away and then focus on growth, volume, and surgery, right? Yeah.
But then let me ask you this question. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I don't even disagree. But if once you get out and you're going to open your own shop, and what interests you the most and what engages you the most is running the business and that side of it. And maybe you didn't know that that's how you're going to feel when you got there. But if that's what is doing it for you now, no offense or anything, but what did you just get your ass handed to you for the last 7 years?
Yeah.
If it was only to run the business.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying. Once you have a trustworthy practice manager, probably life is a lot easier. But I mean, like I said, even now, like I still, not much anymore, but I still get excited for a good big case, or I still, I'm mentally planning my week out in terms of wires and stents. And for me, that's what I still look forward to the most. And my, day-to-day business is probably like 95% clinical. Like it's really all I have to worry about.
So how do you go so it seems like you like the more complex, difficult stuff, and you don't like to ship things out. How do you navigate that with a program that's just starting, that's going to be risk averse, that doesn't want you to probably be doing those things? Maybe, some part of their argument is don't ship anything out, keep everything, all the revenue here, but obviously don't have the complications. And sometimes those things don't go together hand in hand. How do you navigate that?
That really hasn't been a whole lot of a trouble for me. There are very few cases that my hospital wasn't equipped for, because we literally don't have the stuff under our roof like a CT surgeon or like an ECMO machine. That's kind of an easy decision in terms of like, oh, this patient needs to go on ECMO before their PE procedure. So, well, I don't have that machine, so we can't do that here. But the things that are just more aggressive but still physically doable, I've just been dragging the hospital into the 21st century and not vice versa. As for example, the cases where we're covering like the whole aorta. I feel like that used to be, or maybe still is, a kind of case that would only get sent to a quaternary center, because you have to worry about, spinal cord ischemia, and you have to worry about the nurses in the ICU afterward, or you have to worry about the cost of 15 different endograph pieces and so on and so on. But I just kind of said, hey, listen, we're doing this, and I'll tell the nurse what to do. I know how to do the case. Anesthesia, literally a couple of times, I'll tell you what to do. Just do it. And eventually you do more and more and they get more comfortable with it. By the same token, I did not want to be in the kind of practice where I'm going to give away all the stuff and then I'm only going to be doing amputations and SFA stents. Like, that wasn't the life that I wanted. So we had to kind of push it a little bit, and they get used to it.
How open is the hospital? Because this is one thing, as in my life, sometimes at 2 a.m, I'm out there, can't sleep, and I'm thinking about these things. I was like, God damn it, if this thing doesn't work out, if I chapter 11 and I go back, what would be the set of things that I would like as I go back and get a hospital physician job, right? And I think about this a lot. Yeah, God, man, sometimes like you're looking at the bills and you're like, Jesus, I don't know if this is going to work out. So I'm curious, Eli, how much is the hospital allowing you visibility into what true revenue you create for them? And I say this with the following perspective. If this whole notion of private practice doesn't work for me, which let's say 50-50, let's meet in a year and we can talk. And I go back to a hospital and I say, I'm going to find a hospital that needs a vascular surgery division. And I'm going to have them like come to the table like you did and agree that we're going to build this thing together. And I don't want to do, to your point, I don't want to do access and tunneled catheters. Fuck that. I want to do good cases and complex cases. And it's going to take time. And I'm going to put your effort, I'm going to train your staff and get the ICU. But at some point, you're going to feel like you're working your butt off for a system. And inevitably, at least in my point, from my view, inevitably, you're going to find yourself one day saying, man, I am working so hard for this hospital. I am doing so much. I have produced for them so much wealth that I don't know if I'm being appropriately compensated for the amount of work. Because I bet you that the work you did on your first month versus the work you did last month is radically different. But probably your compensation plan may be somewhat the same. And so in order for that partnership to evolve and organically be perfect, nothing's perfect, but as perfect as possible, you need them to be able to open some degree of visibility and say, man, you're generating $3, $4, $5, $6 million, $7 million a year. And we're going to create certain incentives and we're going to allow you to look at these DRGs and these codes and these things. And as we grow, you grow with us. And I see that could be something I would be okay with. I may not own the hospital because it's illegal in the state of Texas, but I may find a hospital that's willing to share enough to make me feel that I'm not being taken advantage of. But that may be, the cynical in me. But how do you maneuver that, Eli, for those maybe young people out there that are at the brink of contracting with a hospital or going into private or academics? These questions become so important. What's your thought on this?
So I don't really know how it works or what the standard outside of Georgia. But to answer the first question you asked a minute ago, I feel like I have basically no visibility in terms of how profitable or costly we are. Having said that, maybe my structure is a little bit different. I don't exactly work for my local hospital. I work for the hospital system, and within that, we're part of the cardiovascular subgroup. And so I'm kind of beholden to the hospital CEO a little bit, but more so to the heart and vascular, multi-specialty group within the corporate system.
Okay.
But we, as far as I know, we basically have no visibility in terms of how much money did we bring in for a given case or a given DRG versus how much did we cost the system.
Right.
And part of that is probably intentional, and part of that is because sometimes it's hard to figure out.
True.
Take a super simple example. If you do a leg intervention for toe gangrene, and I know some of these numbers because I worked in OBL before, let's say you do an atherectomy and one drug-eluting stent, simple case, right? One wire, one balloon with the IVUS. I know that case will cost you about $6,000 in products, but it'll pay you about 14 to 18,000, depending on what the insurance is. But it's not the same in the hospital. And then the person you're working on in the hospital came through the ER, got admitted to the medical services, staying for a couple of days for a podiatry consult or antibiotics. And that adds to the cost, adds to the length of stay, and becomes a little bit more hairy to tease out how much of this patient's revenue generation was due to us and how much was due to other things. But to what you're asking, is it possible to partner with the hospital and say, listen, as I do more volume, higher complexity of cases, bring more money to the hospital, are you going to compensate me fairly with that? I don't know that such a thing exists.
Does it sound too good to be true?
Level.
It sounds too good to be true.
I mean, I'm not super heartbroken over the RVU-based compensation. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I just think that they're not competent enough to. I don't think they have that granular data. No, I
don't think it's like.
I think they have no clue.
We're gonna pay you by the MG whatever. What's that? MGMAM whatever.
MGMA.
And it's like,
oh yeah, MG.
Like they have these like parameters.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna give you 10% above that.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be solid with you. But because of how, to your point, Eli, complex the mathematics is, I bet you they have no idea. It's not that they may not want to.
I don't think that it's the mathematics are complex. I think that everything is compartmentalized. So I think one room doesn't talk to the other.
Did you think it's the opposite? Everything is thrown in the same bucket.
No, it's not.
I'll tell you, when you look at the way the payments come, the hospitals, as successful as they make the case for high complexity.
No, I understand that. But
if they can show that this patient had acute blood loss, that this patient had, all these other things, and there's imaging and this and that immediately puts them into these buckets of high risk, that creates more revenue. But when that revenue comes, it's hard to say, was it the pulmonologist? Was it the vascular surgeon in his procedure? Was it the ICU stay? Was it the dumb intern that screwed up that thing and dropped that lung? Yeah. And then they needed a chest tube and an additional 4 days plus more vent.
Yeah.
Because that's charged. So who gets that? Is it the intern that screwed up that ultimately gets more money? Absolutely not. But it's hard. I think it's the opposite. I think they get these big buckets of money. Well, I think they have no idea who to actually appreciate.
Think on the expense side, it's buckets. On the expense side, each place, even though they interact in the same space, comes from a different bucket, a different budget, and they don't talk to each other. So it's both worlds, I think.
If I can add one more thing to your point.
Yeah, of course.
And this was sort of a question on my last board recertification test. There was a question about something to the effect of how much money does a vascular surgeon make the hospital for a non-vascular case, which is, maybe something like a spine exposure or whatever. So to your point about calculating the cost, what they will never talk to you about, and they will probably never have the actual numbers for, but still, is how much money did we save them by saving the ass of the cardiologist or the orthopedic surgeon or the neurosurgeon when they blast into something or something clots off.
Boom.
And we just saved someone's life. And now there won't be a lawsuit
Yeah.
But that's not going to go into any of their calculus. You just save them $4 to $10 million, and that's never going to get put on your tab.
The intangible value of being the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
We are the ultimate cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Everybody calls us to kill. To
what?
No, everybody calls us to clean.
Yeah.
Kill. I hope nobody calls us to kill. But they call us to clean.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Cardiology. Even CT surgery.
IR.
CT surgery drives me the most. Why is CT surgery doing aortic cases and then they call us for the fasciotomy?
I don't know.
Listen, if you are doing a surgery that has a complication, you should be able to do the complication.
Quick break coming up. Stay with us for something to add more flow to your life.
Hey guys, this is Miguel and Lucas, and we wanted to talk to you about a super interesting project.
Name of this project is Amputation Nation. It's going to be a 6-part documentary series, and we definitely want you to look at it, watch it, digest it, support it.
Yeah, so visit amputationnationthemovie.org to support and give love to these people that are doing a great job.
Without a doubt, we're underdiagnosing peripheral arterial disease. It has not gotten the attention that it should.
Every 4 minutes, there is an amputation in this country due to PAD and diabetes. We also know that 85% of these amputations are preventable.
There is good care available here. Closed minds are what we have to get rid of.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's get back to the show.
Listen, it's okay if you're dealing with stuff at home. We have kids running around here all the time too, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
This one is a more irritating grown-up. Thank you very much.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where do you see this growing, man? What do you want to do with this group? It seems like you two are killing it, and you're doing the cases you want.
Well,
what do you need more? What do you need more? What do you need more of? What could be perfect?
I've told my OR director every day, we need another hybrid room is what we need.
Okay. So you have one?
We have one.
Or okay. So you think you could be busy with two surgeons, or do you need more surgeons to then accommodate growth in another room?
No, I think our current issue is OR availability and not manpower.
Okay.
Between the two of us, so we shared the block time. We're stupidly one of the only groups that block time is assigned by service and not by doctor. But we have 4 block days a week, which sounds pretty good. But we share it. So, if everything equals out, it kind of works out to 2 block days a week.
Correct.
Which isn't really actually all that much. We schmooze them and we charm them, and there will be 2, maybe 3 days a week where we can run 2 rooms. By the same token, I feel like at least we would probably be more aggressive knowing we had a second room all the time. We'd also probably feel more pressure to fill it. But I feel like this is a story everywhere. I mean, I've never chatted with a friend or been at a meeting and met someone who's like, man, I have so many ORs, I can just, walk down the hallway and hear a pin drop. There's like no place that is overstaffed. So
correct.
At least in my mind, that's number one. Number two, I'm not sure this is realistic because every hospital has an idea for what it wants to be. But I don't know that a community hospital is going to create an ECMO program. I would love to have 2 machines and a couple of perfusionists. To this day, I still cannot understand why is CT surgery involved with ECMO cannulation and decannulation. It's a percutaneous stick. What's the big deal? But anyway, and by the way, who gets called to fix the ECMO screw-ups?
Correct.
But anyway.
Yeah. That's
and,
like, why are we not allowed to be part of the TADV program?
Can be?
I'm sorry, the TAVR.
TAVR, yeah.
We can't bill for just being there on the side. But 90%, 95% of their issues is access.
Yeah. I thought that...
What do you mean not allowed to be?
I thought at Baylor,
5% of the time they have to crack a chest and do something crazy.
Yeah.
You don't need somebody standby 95% of the time. 95% of the time, they have issues getting in and getting out. It's the groins and the iliacs that screws the TAVR program in a hospital.
Yeah, I think.
Are you guys allowed to do TAVRs?
So we don't have structural heart in my hospital, so it's not been an issue.
Okay.
You talked a little bit. You mentioned before meetings, and we were talking before with our previous guest on what the current state of kind of education is for people that have finished. What meetings do meetings interest you at all? How are you consuming? Like, what do you feel about education? Like, is there any particular need that you think that's not being filled, that's being filled? What do you feel about meetings?
This is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But I really don't think that the meetings are. I don't think that they provide real education for young or middle-aged surgeons who want to see what's the newest technology, how is it applicable, how to change the practice. It just seems to me like every time I go to a meeting, they present something and you have these gray heads walk up to the microphone who are like, thank you very much for your talk. Here's how I do it though. And I'm like, oh, I didn't come here to see this. So the couple of meetings that I go to, well, the academic meetings are more if like I know people going or if it's in a good spot. And that's just like, honestly, like like if something is in Minnesota, South Dakota, I'm not going to that.
Listen, I'll tell you the bottom line of what I said in the last podcast was 10, 15 years ago, you could come and bedazzle people with, pedal axis or, some. Nowadays, most people out there that have some degree of reputable practice know how to do these things. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those people in the audience have already surpassed technically a lot of the gray heads, to your point, that are there speaking on these matters. And so I think that the meetings have become stale because they have because they have been outrun. The audience has surpassed the capacity of the speakers. Now, why are speakers, and funny enough, now in my new role, I've kind of jumped off the speaker circle. Because listen, if you're not part of an academic program that wants you out there talking all day long, there's no practical way you could be out there speaking when there's a meeting every month. I cannot be a, quote, key opinion leader when I have a business to run at home because I have diapers to, buy for my kid. And so I don't know. I think the whole thing has become very difficult to sustain, and new ways of relaying shorter and more efficient data are going to be a necessity to, for the audience.
Yeah. How do you, what format do you think would bring you value in kind of keeping you
other than this
up
podcast?
To date, other than this podcast,
because I know that's on the top of your list.
Yeah, but what would bring you value as far as like, okay, I want to keep up to date with how things are going. I want to keep innovating. I want to introduce these things, but I don't want to sit for like 3 days listening to 7-minute talks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the industry sponsored, and of course there's some bias there, but the industry sponsored events, I've taken more out of those than the academic events.
I agree.
Really?
And I'm always very surprised
because you know what you're going for, right? Yeah. I mean, you're like, okay, I'm going to go for a lymph flow course because I want to learn about lymph flow.
Yeah,
and they're going to bring the top lymph flow dogs.
But is that where everything's delineated in between, like with is devices it?
No.
Is how to use a device it?
It's a big part of it at this point. I mean, at his level, it's going to be TAMBI. It's going to be lymph flow. It's going to be, he knows how to poke an artery and how to take an angiogram.
Yeah.
He wants to know new devices, right, Eli? I mean, it's just, there's something
I think
new
you're
you want to
exactly
learn
right.
from the best. Done.
Yeah. So number one, when you go to a industry sponsored course, you're going on a specific topic that you want to go to, right? When you go to an academic course, it's 3 days of 20 minutes of everything. I mean, I went to Eastern Vascular Society meeting last month, and I just straight up slept in through the venous side because I don't care. It's not interesting to me. I don't like doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I went to the venous course, it really wouldn't change my practice much because I don't want to do those cases anyway. I was very surprised or impressed when I went to maybe last year. It was Boston Scientific sponsored course on PE, and the whole argument kind of became Ecos versus Inari, and half of the chat was like tips and ways to use Inari creatively, and this is from Boston sponsored speakers. So I don't think that the industry sponsored courses deserve the bad rep that they get from the academic people. Like, oh, they're paying for you to go there, so of course you're going to use their whatever. I mean, I can tell you, for example, Ecos versus Inari, I do way more Inari, despite Boston taking me to the course, despite me being on the Boston MAB. So going to shorter courses and with smaller group settings, I feel like I've learned more super niche little tips or tricks in the kind of roundtable discussions at the industry sponsored course rather than at the, second year resident presenting the research findings of this group at whatever big academic course.
Correct.
Maybe that's just me, but
no,
I think there's a bad rep. There's the academicians in their mighty high horses have attempted to dismantle completely industry funded education. And listen,
you think so?
Oh my dude, are you kidding me?
I don't know. I've never.
Dude, you can't present at SVS if you know that I have a lot of like first in man.
Yeah.
Eli, you may not know this, but I have a company that operates in Latin America. I'm Costa Rican originally, and so we built a company many years ago, and we work with a lot of startups. And so what we do is first in humans. If I sniff a device, I am absolutely like extricated. Like I can never speak on that device.
Really?
I have absolutely no capacity to do that. So here I am, one of the top enrollers of the limb flow arterialization, right? Here I am, one of the people that have published the most about this. Yet I cannot give a scientific talk on this matter.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You can't present your data on it?
Nope. No.
Really?
I can present some data, but the moment that I disclosed that, yes, there was some financial interest because I got paid at the FIA, boom, I'm out.
Interesting.
And it's right now incredibly impossible. And the SVS is, for example, the gold on here because they take that and they will not let you talk.
Yeah.
So I stopped going to the SVS because I've not represented right now. I don't feel I would love an independent board. I want to get the fuck out of the American College of Surgery. I want to be an independent board.
They were talking about that today because cardiology is doing it. So now we have to do it.
Well, I want to be an independent board. I've been trying to do this. Dr. Frank Breith have been trying to do this. Yeah. He has been mistreated and spit in the face for this. I am with him in this sense, and not that I want to politicize this, but this is the side of stuff that SVS has done for many years that makes it impossible. The industry is not a foe. You want to be an industry bitch? That's your predicament.
Yeah.
No, really.
You're
going to be a whore and you're going to be horrible and biased and you're a bad apple.
Yeah.
But a lot of people like Greenfield, a lot of people like Palmas.
I mean, all the aortic guys, all the big aortic guys. Yeah.
The way that we practice because of industry, man. Yeah. They've got the funds and the engineers and all this stuff. But they can make great courses for training. But
when you go to those courses, you have to hyper acute of the biases in the course.
Yeah, but that's part of
that's your responsibility. That's your responsibility. But we have to say that.
Yeah, you have to go there and be like, okay, this is bullshit.
Yeah, and because some things they say are bullshit.
Total.
Okay. All right, Eli. Thanks for coming, man. This is fun.
No, thank you for having me.
Anything else you want to say?
I want to learn. I'd love to connect again with you, man, and see.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what you're gonna do with this program. If you get them to do visibility, I'll come and take a job.
One of the things I thought would be a interesting topic for discussion, maybe another time, is OR culture.
Or what?
That's kind of like how
the culture.
Like the culture. How does the surgeon interact with the device up in anesthesia and the circulator and the scrub tech and guests and all that kind of stuff? Because I feel like it has changed so dramatically.
In a good way or a bad way?
I'm not sure I know how to answer that. I think mostly in a good way.
Okay.
I'm like just barely old enough that, when I was an intern and junior resident, when I made a move that the attending didn't like, I got my hand slapped with the Kelly. And if you did that today, you'd be fired for sure as an attending.
100%.
And there are like a couple of older reps who I work with who have become buddies, and the throwing the hemostat joke has become like almost like an inside joke, because like the younger people now like don't get it, like they couldn't possibly fathom
that
throwing an instrument.
Throw an instrument. Oh god.
Yeah. But back in not even that long ago, I mean, as a junior resident, I was kicked out of the OR, and stuff was thrown, not at me, but stuff was thrown. Or, like the anesthesiologist got reamed out, like in front of everyone. And that doesn't happen anymore. That's probably a good thing. But I just think it's like an interesting evolution. And it kind of was part of the impetus for my whole stupid Instagram account. But
tell us, listen, I want to say we still have a few minutes left. I'd love to know about this impetus on Instagram, because that's kind of how we got you in our radar. Was, hey, you decided to go all out and bear it all out and put some stuff out there that was interesting. What was your thoughts behind that? What did you want to accomplish? And then what did you not want to accomplish and somehow now has started to happen? Because that's what all projects sometimes have, these either good or bad things that you never thought could come from it, and then you have to deal with them. So tell me a little bit about that in the last 5-7 minutes we got.
Yeah, sure. So my whole Instagram account started when, I think it was last summer, my partner had some pregnancy complications and she was out for a while. So I was basically on call by myself for 5 months with 2 days off or something. And I had, at first, I didn't know anything about video editing or Instagram. And I had my PA showing me like all the smallest little stupid things, like, how do you pull something? How do you add music? Blah, blah, blah. But I had a billion cases going, and I started making little videos of those. And then somehow, I don't even know how, it evolved into, like making jokes and posting them online. And the majority of the content at first was just stuff that I thought would amuse me. And it was like more for my recreation, like almost like an outlet, to have some creative outlet to, make videos that I was like chuckling at my own stupidity on my phone, and then put them online and see who would be interested in it.
Being in practice alone is very lonely. I mean, I can say it now that I've been in, for many years in academics, there was like just millions of people around you on a daily basis. And now for 2 years, I feel like I'm in a mountain alone in an island. So you were probably alone. I mean, your partner was out and you were there late nights, every night, tired, driving yourself to work, and you have no way to connect to the world. I feel like social media can be an interesting way that you seek a connection.
Yeah.
So how definitely. What unexpected things have come from it?
Other than the Life of Podcast. Life of Podcast.
I mean, not a whole lot of, I guess, unexpected things. I mean, I get a lot more notifications on my phone now. And I thought it was very funny that, like in a flattering way, that there were a couple of like med students and residents at that Eastern Vascular conference who like walked up to me and you're like, oh, you do that account on Instagram, right? I'm like, holy shit, people know about this? But I mean, my wife gets annoyed about how much I post on it. But other than that, I don't know that it's...
But that notoriety, what do we call it? What did we call it in the last podcast with podiatry? It was like, have you guys... Identification in the wild is what he said.
Yeah.
Have you guys been identified in the wild?
Yeah.
Like when you walk up, and I was like, no, I've never been, but Lucas did get one of those where he went to a meeting and somebody was like, oh, you're the guy from the podcast, right? I was like, God damn it, that hasn't happened to me yet. But you got identified as, oh, you're the guy from the Instagram account. So what's the Instagram handle? Because I'd like all our followers to follow
our
you.
3 followers.
Oh man, it's real stupid. It's Veins and Gains with a couple of Z's.
Yeah.
I was blown away that there were like 4 or 5 versions of Veins and Gains that were already taken.
Oh yeah.
That's why I had to use the Z's.
Yeah. They're super funny. I don't have and the way it came to my attention was because my girlfriend sends me like memes because I don't have social media. And whenever she wants to like catch my attention or something, she sends me something really funny, just so I can because sometimes I ignore her texts. And so she sends me your stuff all the time. And I'm like, oh, this shit is hilarious, bro. Yeah.
Oh, let me show you my most
Veins and
my most recent cup.
Can you say Veins and Gains with the
Hold the wire? I like that. Yeah.
Hold the wire. Hey, Veins and Gains. Can you just spell it out for our listeners to find it?
It's VEINZ.AND.GAINZ.
Okay.
I got it. I love it. Yeah.
Anyways, that's super funny. How did you come up with the name Veins and Gains?
I don't know. I wanted something that was like catchy. I think at first it was going to be like Squats and Stents, but Veins and Gains had a little bit more.
Yeah, it kind of flows of the tongue. Yeah.
Do you know how many followers you have right now?
I think it's like 12,000 or something like that.
That is a lot.
That's quite a bit.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's really funny.
For what, a year? Or no, 2 years? How long have you been doing this?
Maybe a year and a half.
Dude, but this is awesome, man.
Yeah.
This is
awesome.
So
actually, I was thinking of
he started post. Have you seen all the ones about like all the costumes?
The costumes, yeah. So I
was dying.
Did you? So I'll show you.
Lucas had his own done by his girlfriend,
and it was really funny.
You? That's funny.
Let me look at it with what she wrote. It says included Clark's Burgers, Velvet Sabas, Ancient Esoteric Book, $32 glass of wine. Check out companion costume, Jaded, Hopeless Resident, Hyperactive Rescue Dog. That's really funny.
Yeah. Lucas prides himself of being like very cool, and so that's what she tried to portray there. So,
anyways.
All right, Eli. Thank you very, very much, man. It's been
thank you guys.
Fun. It's been it's just good energy. But come back again, man. We love doing this a lot, and we love talking to people that are out there just trying to do what we do, which is just do the right thing and have some fun.
And we're going to repost your stuff because it's really funny.
We are so going to help try to get your word out. And thanks for making our life a little bit funner.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing what you do for your patients. And I sure hope to see you in person and meet you and collaborate with you digitally, brother.
Definitely. I appreciate it.
All right, now you can go and deal with that adult.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to.
Two vascular surgeons walk into a bar and come out with a podcast. We are talking everything vascular and not. Welcome to the Life of Flow podcast.